in answer to your question, what relevance is it going to be for me, even as to that issue?
So it makes a difference whether he was there when the accident happened or whether he
was not claiming to be there at the time the accident happened. Whoa.
However,
there has been a PCC in this case. This case has traveled through. This case was set for exam previously. It was adjourned at your request to today's date. And now you're telling me that you haven't done something and may not be ready. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would stand by my objection, Your Honor.
I'm not going to answer my question.
Pause conference in this.
Are you asking them to bring in the author of the report?
Yes.
On what grounds?
The differences between those two numbers. That would be.
The defense sought to obtain that test or that information from the author of the report.
Sorry, you mean have I called?
You tried to get to the person that authored the report.
I have not called the author of the report, no.
Court does call the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Corey Folk.
Your Honor, Raymond Cook for the people.
And good morning, Lord Yakima, Citizen Public Defender, but on behalf of the folks. Right there, and then agree with the court.
All right, thank you. Date and time of the adjourned preliminary examination. Are parties ready to proceed?
We're ready, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, defense is ready.
All right, you may proceed.
Your Honor, people call Ember Grady.
All right, go ahead.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you doing? Doing just fine. Thank you for asking. Ma'am, how are you employed?
Senior paramedic at Huron Valley.
How long have you worked for Huron Valley?
Since July 2019.
Were you working in the same capacity on or about May 25th of 2025?
Yes, sir.
And were you specifically on shift that day?
Yes,
what shift were you working?
Regular.
What shift is that?
Fine. Well, 7:30. Yeah, 7:30 a.m.
So you were on shift 7:30 p.m. the night before the 24th, is that correct?
Yeah.
All right.
That should be fair.
No problem. Specifically in the early morning hours of May 25th, 2025, were you ever on I-94 Adderton US 12? Why were you there?
Personal maintenance goes to another call in Belleville. We needed to take it for you.
When you say we, who's we?
My partner,
What's your partner's name?
Alex Shankowski.
While you were en route to that call, did anything happen that caused you to stop on I-94?
I guess we spotted a man who was new on the shoulder of the highway.
Do you remember which way or which direction of traffic on the highway you were? Eastbound or westbound, I guess.
Eastbound.
Okay. And you said that this individual was on the shoulder. Which shoulder?
The right one. It's like the slow lanes.
Okay. What did you do when you saw this individual?
He stopped the ambulance. My partner was driving. I radioed into dispatch to let them know what we had spotted and that we wouldn't be stopping, so that they could send someone else to the call that we were already hitting. And then, I had radioed that we were stopping. We asked for police to come to our scene, and my partner started to put the emergency lights on. And started to reverse the ambulance to try to get closer to the individual.
You said that you stopped the ambulance. Where did you stop the ambulance?
In the right lane.
In the lane or off the road?
In the lane.
Okay.
It's the lane we were traveling in.
The slow lane.
Yes.
The right lane. Okay.
What happened after you started to reverse the vehicle?
He shot the individual. It started to kind of run towards us, and it looked like he had something in his hand, but neither one of us could see what it was. So we kind of started pulling forward a little bit, and we locked the door just in case, because we don't know this person. I radioed to dispatch again that he's charging at us. We would like police to come priority one, which is like sirens, like step it up, because he could be a danger to himself, to others. We don't know.
At the time that you're seeing this individual, are you looking directly at him?
I was looking in the side mirror. So we have two mirrors basically. It's the larger mirror, and then there's a smaller like toe mirror. I was looking between the small toe mirror And when my partner said like, oh, he's running toward us, I kind of like leaned forward and tried to see him in the larger mirror to see if I could see what he was holding, but I couldn't, and then I just went back to looking in the small mirror.
And you're the passenger and then, okay.
I don't think I clarified earlier. Do you remember what time specifically you saw this individual?
Like 2 something.
AM or PM? All right. What happened after you radioed for police assistance?
So we had pulled the vehicle forward a little bit, my partner did. And the individual on the road kind of stopped, like put his shoulders down, turned around and started walking back the way that he had originally been walking.
At that point, do you remember, was this individual on the road or on the shoulder? How far off the road was this individual at that time? What happened after he turned around and started walking away?
I had tried to radio dispatch again to let them know that he was walking towards like a curve in the road and to let the know so that they don't. I did not get to complete that transmission because it was the
When you say the individual was hit by a car, do you know what type of car it was?
You can tell that it kind of like continued by my passenger door. I saw the headlights and general.
Can I just stop you there? Because I'm trying to get it. When you say it continued past your door, that's the vehicle did?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Cookle, sir.
So I saw the headlights, the general outline. I saw that it was a 4-door sedan in dark in color, with like not the LED headlights, like the older style headlights. And I saw that it was kind of going sideways, like the headlights were pointing to my door. And it struggled to regain control and then came to a stop ahead of us.
I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. You said it passed by your door, and you said you're the passenger in this vehicle, correct? When the vehicle passed you, was it on or off the roadway?
It was on the shoulder.
Okay. So it goes past you on the shoulder. Does it go back onto the roadway or does it stay off the road?
It went back onto the roadway as the person was trying to take.
Okay. And while you were testifying, you sort of made a gesture with your hand. It's sort of like fishtailing. Is that what the vehicle was doing?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to see who was driving that vehicle?
No.
At the time that this happened, were you able to see where on the vehicle, or let me rephrase this question. Were you able to see where the vehicle made contact with this individual?
So when I was looking at the small mirror and I saw the headlights kind of cross the individual turning towards the road, like towards my ambulance. And I saw the silhouette of the individual and then I heard the of contact. And after we got out of the ambulance to try to look for him, the victim of the driver, there was a specific type of glass that was on the roadway that doesn't come from a windshield, it only comes from the side windows.
You said that you heard the thud. Did you hear any like tires squealing?
Yes, I did.
How long before or after the impact did you hear that noise?
I only heard the tires screeching right before the thud, and then I didn't hear them screaming.
I believe you said that you left and tried to find the individual that was hit. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
Were you able to find that individual?
Yes.
Where did you find that individual?
And started our search where we had last seen him. And kind of scanned the area. We scanned as wide an area as we could, really, go anywhere. We found him about 100, maybe 150 feet up from where we last lived. On there's like a south wall on the highway. Found him up against the south. Yeah.
Make sure I'm understanding correctly. You said about 100 to 150 feet. Is that off the side of the road or forward, backwards? What direction is that?
So it's forward and maybe 5-ish, 6-ish feet to the right towards the south wall.
And when you say forward, is that the direction of travel the car was going? Okay.
So, okay. So the individual that struck is now ahead of the ambulance?
I believe he ended up maybe around where the ambulance was.
Gotcha. Okay, so, and excuse me, I'm just trying to get a layout in my head. Where on 94 are you?
So we are eastbound, just west of Rossonville exit.
Just west of Rossendale. Gotcha.
So I wish I had a map to show you.
No, I got it. So you're just west of Rossendale. Okay. And described the individual initially coming toward the ambulance, then going away from the ambulance. How, at the point of impact, how far estimating is he from the ambulance?
I wouldn't be able to give you a good estimate on that.
Okay, that's fine. And I got that. But your ambulance is still in the right-hand lane of I-94.
Yes, we put it in park.
Got it. Okay. Last question I have for you at this point. When you are describing, just so the record's clear, when you're saying on the shoulder, tell me what you mean by shoulder, rather than try to put words in your mouth. Okay, what you mean.
The solid white line that has.
Got it. So, gotcha. So when you say shoulder, anything which would be to the right of that white line, you're describing as the shoulder. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. What did you do when you found the individual who was struck?
My partner made first contact. Let's read more details on what. But I don't know, it was maybe like this deep, like a foot deep, and it was filled with water. He put it backward over it, crossed it, got to the victim, and said, "I think I feel the pulse." So I determined that we needed to get him into the ambulance to do a further assessment on him and perform life-saving measures.
At any time that you're doing this, did any individual from the car that struck this person leave the vehicle and assist?
I cannot see or hear any car doors opening or anyone get out of it.
How long did the car remain on scene?
I don't know how long. When we found him and I looked up, the car would come.
How long did you spend searching for the decedent?
Less than 30 seconds.
So sometime within then, that other car left. After you got this individual back into the ambulance and you were performing life-saving measures, what happened then?
I had radioed to get a supervisor. The supervisor showed up and another unit from our same company that happened to be going that direction and also stopped to give us some help. They got in and I was doing chest compressions and the way that our protocols work, if it's what we call a traumatic arrest, so no pulse, no breathing due to a traumatic cause, we have to put them on the cardiac monitor, look at their heart rhythm, and then call a doctor based on that. So that is what we.
Were you able to, or let me phrase the question this way. Was this individual pronounced dead at any point that night?
Yeah,
Do you remember what time that was?
I would have to look at my report.
Were you able to identify who this individual was?
I believe, like, we didn't, we got his name later from, it was either the coroner or police found out his name. I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. And just to be clear, when this crash occurred, was this in Washtenaw County?
Yes.
Other than yourself and the vehicle that struck the decedent, were there any other cars on the road at this time? Did you observe anything like a deer crossing the street or anything like that? What was the weather like?
Just a regular night.
Let me have just one moment here.
And also, I just want to clarify something while you do that. At the time of impact, all of your lights on your ambulance are activated. Okay.
Ask the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Cross-examination.
So, Ms. Grady, you remember talking to the police on the night that this happened, right? I believe it was Trooper Ryan that interviewed you on the scene, right? Okay. Sure. So, one of the police officers interviewed you on the scene that night, right? And do you remember telling that officer that you witnessed a small black sedan hit the decedent? I'm sorry, just for the record, we need a yes. Okay. And you gave a lot of information today, details about distances and things you remember. Do you remember if you gave those details to the officer the night that this happened?
I don't believe I gave just details.
Okay. Do you remember going into specifics about what you saw in terms of the man on the side of the highway the night that this happened?
Because I just saw him.
Do you remember telling the officer specifics about like where you saw him and what he was doing on this evening before the crash? Okay. But you don't remember giving the estimates as to the distance that he was located near the side of the highway, is that right? Okay. And I do want to clarify something as well. You said you located the decedent up against, you said a sound wall. Could you explain what that means?
The wall that's on most highways to prevent highway noises from going to neighborhoods.
Okay. And you remember, you testified on direct that you were looking in the area, you were looking for the decedent, right? Do you remember seeing a variety of debris in that area as well? Do you remember seeing actually parts of cars in that area?
What ended up being a mud flat from a semi that said Volvo on it. It was broken apart. It was in the shoulder.
Okay. And do you remember there was also a back panel of a car from Cadillac? Do you remember that? Okay. Do you remember there being a variety of debris in that area though? There's debris. There's garbage, right? Okay. Do you wear body worn cameras? Okay. And you don't have dash cams on your ambulance, on your vehicle, right? Okay. Do you now? Okay. You also mentioned that there was sort of a ravine that was filled with water. You'd agree with me that that creates some uneven terrain on the shoulder, right? And you testified that your partner actually put I forget what you called it, but some sort of, you said backboard. Okay. And that's so that you could walk over it safely, right? And I want to ask you some more questions about the sort of what the highway, this specific location of the highway. So you testified that there was a curve in the road. You agree that there's, as far as I-94 goes, it's a pretty substantial curve at this location, right? And so you testified that you heard tire screeching before you heard a thud of an impact, right? Did you see the brake lights on the car or do you not remember?
The brake lights weren't facing me until it was in front of the ambulance. So no.
Okay. Could you see tail lights or rear brake lights or not? Okay. How many seconds would you say you observed the individual who was the decedent on the side of the highway before the accident?
I don't know how many seconds. I would say it was easily at least 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Sometime that we saw him stop, did go back and forth, but then he was.
Okay. So you saw him, did your partner stop the vehicle pretty instantly after you saw him?
As safe as possible.
Okay. So you saw him stop the vehicle and then he reversed the vehicle, is that right? And were you observing him in the rear view mirror for that duration of the time? The side mirror. Okay. And you said at one point he was approaching your vehicle, so you locked the doors, right? And I'm sorry, just for the record, is that a yes? Okay. And you actually testified on direct that you thought he was maybe charging it at you, is that right? And you saw something in your hands. Now, would you describe that object as being larger than the side of a kind of standard hand that he was holding? Okay. Could you tell whether it was, what type of object it was?
Not at the time.
Okay.
He looked at what was left in the road and the area was kind of just figured it might be the mud flat, but we don't know for sure.
Okay. But you don't recall seeing many specifics as to the object that he was holding in his hand. Okay.
Something.
And to be clear, it wasn't really your job to look closely in the scene once you found him. Is that right?
Do our best to get as much information that would lead to treating the patient. But not in like the police officer, law enforcement mentality.
Okay. Were you aware of any prior calls made regarding that individual before you stopped? Okay. When you talked with, was it you that talked with the dispatch? Okay. Did they mention that they received prior calls about this individual as well?
We found out later that they had, but I don't believe at the time that they did.
Okay. Do you recall how many calls they received about this individual that evening?
I'm not in his dispatch office, I don't know.
Okay. So do you recall how long it took police to arrive on the scene once you made that request?
I wouldn't feel to tell you a specific time, but
Okay.
say anecdotally, it was very quick.
Okay. So you mentioned you had a supervisor come to the scene. Is that standard protocol or what led to that decision?
Things hitting the door and the side of the ambulance. I thought that something hit our vehicle. It turns out it was just ground and stuff with the shoulder. There wasn't any actual damage.
Okay. At one point, did you think that the vehicle that had hit the decedent also hit your ambulance?
I didn't think that the vehicle itself did. I thought that maybe something had come off the vehicle and hit our ambulance.
Okay. Is it fair to say that in the moment that you were talking to the police the night this happened, there was a lot going on, right? And your primary focus was tending to the patient, right? And you were saying information about what you thought you remembered in that moment while you were tending to the patient, right? So you didn't know if something had hit your vehicle, right?
Once he was pronounced dead, then when he looked at her ambulance to see if there was any damage.
Okay. Mhm. You testified in direct examination that there weren't any other cars on the road at this time. Wasn't it the case that you radioed for another ambulance to go to the location you were initially headed towards?
That is not our job to do, that's the dispatcher's job.
Okay. Just to be clear, you did see other vehicles driving on I-94 that evening, right? You did see other vehicles driving in that location while you were talking to police, right?
When you're talking to police, they had already shut the highway down.
Okay, so they shut the highway down. Before they shut the highway down, there were other vehicles traveling on I-94, right?
And it's in my ambulance performing that too.
Okay. So before the accident, you had seen other vehicles traveling on I-94 that evening, though, right? During your shift. And that was around 2:30 in the morning, right? I want to talk to you about some more about the investigation in this case. So you talked with the police the night of. Did you ever have any follow-up interviews with any police officers?
Yeah, is that right?
Yes.
So the last coordinator that we got.
Okay. And then who did you speak with the last court date?
Prosecutor. Sorry. Just the prosecutor.
Okay. So did the police officer do a subsequent interview with you at all at the last court date? Okay. So it was just that evening, as far as you can remember, that you gave your statement to police, right? And just to be clear, you couldn't see, it was obviously very dark outside, right? And the vehicle that struck the decedent, you couldn't see inside that vehicle, right? You don't know how many people were inside that vehicle, right? You don't know the race of the person driving, right? You don't know if it was a man or a woman. You have no idea who that was, right? Okay. I have no further questions at this time.
You redirect.
No, Your Honor.
Ma'am, I just want to make sure you're indicating that the point of impact was west of Rossendale Road or west of West? West of Rossendale Road. So the entrance exit to Rossendale, you're on the western side of that. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Anything else based upon the court?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. You may step down.
Sir, how are you employed?
Currently as a sergeant, Michigan State Police,
How long have you worked for Michigan State Police?
10 years.
In what capacity over that 10 years?
Trooper up to September of 2025.
And is that when you got promoted to sergeant?
Yes.
Were you working for Michigan State Police on or about June 6th of 2025?
Yes.
And on that day, were you ever asked to assist with investigations related to a crash that occurred earlier in May of that year?
Yes, that was.
How were you assisting with that investigation?
I was asked to speak to an individual who advised he has information about that incident, and then later on to inspect the vehicle and attempt to interview someone possibly.
At any point on June 6th of 2025, did you have a conversation with an individual by the name of Corey Folk?
Yes.
Do you see that individual in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you please point to them and identify them by an article of clothing that they're wearing?
Sitting to my left, wearing a blue suit and a red tie.
The record may reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
Without objection, the record shall so reflect.
Why did you speak with the defendant on that day?
The initial conversation that I had that morning, that person identified Mr.
Objection.
What's your objection?
Well, hearsay, and also relevance, we already have to
The
find.
statement is going to go to his state of mind as to what he did. So it's not hearsay. Objection's overruled. Go ahead, Mr. Cook.
I didn't know why I had Mr. as someone who may have been involved, and so then I was attempting to interview him as to game issues.
And when you say attempting to interview him, who is him? Okay. Were you able to interview the defendant? Where did that interview take place?
At the State Police Jackson Post.
At the time you interviewed the defendant, had you taken him into custody?
No.
How did the defendant arrive at the Michigan State Police Post?
Transported him there.
Did he agree to get transported there? At any point, let me rephrase this. Did you advise him whether he was free to leave at any point?
I did.
Was he free to leave at any point?
Yes.
Did the defendant agree to speak with you on that day?
Yes.
I want to sort of go the day before May 25th to May 24th. Did the defendant say when he woke up that morning?
Yes.
When did the defendant say he woke up on the 24th? Over the course of the day of the 24th, where did the defendant say that he was that afternoon?
We say he worked and then attended a Detroit Tigers game.
When the defendant was at the Detroit Tigers game, did he say whether or not he had anything to drink? What did he say? What did the defendant say he drank?
Initially advised he had a couple of beers, and I believe later clarified
At the time of that,
Sorry, what was that last word?
3.
3. Okay.
Yes.
at the time of the Tigers game, do you know how old the defendant was?
Under 21, but I do not know the exact age.
Did he say if he was with anyone else that afternoon?
Yes, he did.
Who was he with?
A friend of his named Adrian Putnam.
Defendant says he's at a Detroit Tigers game. How long did he say he was at that Tigers game?
He stated he arrived to the Detroit area 6:30 and stayed until approximately 11
Where did the defendant say that he went after the Tigers game?
p.m.
Did he say what he was doing in Ann Arbor?
Was at Pinball Pete's.
How long was the defendant in the Ann Arbor area?
He stayed until approximately 2 to 2:15 a.m. the following.
Of the 25th? All right. Where did the defendant go after, or where did the defendant say he went after he left Pinball Pete's?
He said he went to take his towards Allen Park to take his friend home.
Did he say what route he was taking to get there?
He did not know the exact roadways, but he stated it was the freeway and he was traveling towards Allen Park, so east.
While the defendant was driving towards Allen Park, did he say how fast he was going on the freeway?
He approximated his speed around 90 miles an hour.
While on the freeway, did he say whether or not he was distracted by anything?
Yes, some flashing lights.
What about the flashing lights, or what statement did the defendant make regarding these flashing lights?
He advised he saw some flashing lights as he was on the freeway, and he believed that they were on the other side of the freeway, so the westbound side, and that's when he saw that.
Did the defendant say how hard he hit his brakes? Did the defendant say whether or not he was able to maintain control of his vehicle?
Was not able to maintain control of his vehicle.
Did the defendant say whether he was involved in a crash at that time?
Yes, he stated he collided with something.
What did the defendants say he did after he collided with something?
Looked around, asked his friend, he was okay. Sat there for 2 or 3 minutes and then left.
Did he ever tell you that he got out of the car and rendered aid or assistance to anyone?
He said he did not get out of the car. He
Did he ever say if he reported this crash to police?
said he did not report it.
Did he give a reason why he didn't report this to police?
He was afraid of the shot.
Did he say where he worked? I'm sorry.
Yes, it was in Jackson. I can't recall the name of the company, but he was afraid a drunk driving charge would cause him to lose that job.
A drunk driving charge. Thank you. Go ahead.
Other than drinking, did the defendant say he used any other sort of intoxicating substance?
I asked him and he stated he did not.
And did the defendant say what vehicle he was driving?
His vehicle is Chevy Malibu.
What sort of vehicle is it? An SUV, a truck, a sedan? Did the defendant say whether he was using his phone at the time of the crash?
He said he may have done.
Did you ever personally see the defendant's vehicle?
Yes,
When you observed the vehicle, was there any damage on it?
yes.
What sort of damage was on the vehicle?
Dent, I guess that's described as a dent on the rear quarter panel,
Which side?
right side.
So passenger side? Okay. What about the windows? Were the windows damaged in any way?
There was a broken
Which window was broken?
call.
If I can have just one moment, please, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
So Sergeant, you testified on direct that he said he did not report this to police. You actually got his name from Trooper Davis, isn't that right?
Mr. Davis is not a trooper.
Mr. Davis is employed at the police, isn't he?
I believe he may be our corrections officer.
Brief moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
So you're aware that Mr. Davis is employed in some capacity with police? Or you don't know?
Like I said, I believe these corrections, which
Okay.
is entity that belongs.
Do you say you believe? Do you remember or do you not remember how he's employed?
I believe he's a corrections officer.
Okay. So do you recall, was it you who followed up on the conversation with Mr. Davis or was it not you?
Yes, I did follow up.
Do you recall referring to him as Officer Davis?
I may have.
Okay. And do you recall which agency you called to follow up on this information?
No.
Okay. But, okay. So do you recall that you actually called a police agency regarding a call that Mr. Folk made about this?
It was his supervisor.
Okay.
So,
Is
Mr. Davis
Davis the supervisor?
is the one who contacted our post regarding this entire instance.
Got it.
Okay. And was it a part of your responsibility to investigate anything that Mr. Folk told you?
I was assisting at that time. I was not the officer in charge of the investigation. So I was merely asked to interview Mr. Folk and check on the vehicle.
Okay. So did you ever go view the surveillance cameras at Pinball Pete's to verify what time he may have left or what time he was there?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Did you ever ask any of the other officers to do that?
No.
Okay. That wasn't part of your responsibility in the investigation? Okay. Did you ever view or request to view any surveillance from Detroit, from the Tigers game regarding, okay. You're aware that you had information that the damage to Mr. Folk's car was actually caused in Detroit at the Tigers game, right?
That's what he initially told me and then changed that statement later on.
He told you his rear window damage was from a break-in in Detroit, right?
That was his official statement. That's correct.
You're saying that that part of the story, that the window damage, specifically the back panel, I'm not talking about the siding of the car, but the back window, you're saying he changed his story about that damage?
Changed his damage to the.
He told you that he had a witness who would verify that his car was actually broken into in Detroit, right?
Yeah, that was part of his initial statement.
Your Honor, permission, well, brief moment, Your Honor. Sergeant Ryan, you would, or Sergeant Bowden, excuse me, you would recognize a copy of the written report you made about this, right? Permission to approach the witness?
Okay.
May I approach physically?
May.
Okay. Can you point out where in the written summary of your interview with Mr. Folk, you indicated that he changed his story about specifically the back window?
To object to the relevant.
Well,
Also hearsay.
yes, but note those, but I'm trying to figure out where, when you say back window panel, what are you referring to in your question?
So the rear, basically the window, the rear window of the vehicle.
Well, I don't know what you mean by rear window. Are you talking a side window to the rear, or are you talking the rear window?
I was referring to the rear window.
All right, go ahead. As to your objection, G, well, the first one is to relevance. Maybe I'll overrule that objection as to hearsay regarding the defendant's statement. Isn't it hearsay?
Your Honor, I'm asking this officer to point out where in his written statement summarizing, he indicates that Mr. Folk changed his story about this back window panel.
All right, I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Sure. This portion here, if I may I read it to you. I advised Folk his statement did not align with some information he had about his vehicle. It offered him the opportunity to clarify, which he replied, I couldn't tell you. I again offered Folk a chance to start over, as I did not feel his initial statement was entirely accurate. At that point, Folk stated he was taking his friend home after the Tigers game, spending time in Ann Arbor. After that point, he describes the damage as occurring as part of this collision that occurred after losing control.
Okay, so to be clear, did he ever tell you that his car wasn't broken into in Detroit? Did he ever say, actually, that was a lie?
Did he verbatim state that to me?
Did he?
No, he did not verbatim state, but this is the point in the interview, which he then clarified his initial statements and said that the damage actually occurred during this collision on the freeway.
Okay, but just to be clear, you never investigated. Actually, you did ask him where he parked at the game, right?
I did.
And you were trying to get some of that information, right? May I retrieve the police report?
You may.
Thank you. You did think that was relevant to your investigation, right? When you were asking questions about where he parked at the game, you actually thought that was relevant to your investigation, right?
Part of the way we interview people is to obtain their full statement initially, and then point out any discrepancies that may be there in obtaining the truth later on.
Okay.
You started the interview by saying he wasn't in custody. Is that right?
Told him he was free to leave at any time.
Okay. You did not read him his Miranda rights, correct? You did not have him sign a waiver of his rights, right? You did not tell him he had the right to an attorney. And you physically drove him to the police station, correct? And he told you he thought he had to go with you, right?
Yeah, we had a conversation.
Okay. And there was you, and then there was another police officer who was in the interview room with Mr. Folk. Is that right? And both of you were wearing your uniforms, right? And you had your weapons on you, right? And you were sitting on either side of him, right?
Yes.
And he was not sitting immediately. He was sort of sitting in the corner of the room, right?
Yes.
He was not sitting right next to a door, right? And you told him that you've been doing this a while and you felt like he had a moral compass, right? And in fact, told him that it didn't seem like he should go to jail, right?
I don't know that I see that.
You told him he didn't seem like a bad guy, right?
Yes.
And you don't remember saying doesn't seem like he'll go to jail? Okay. Okay. And he asked you if he needed a lawyer. You remember that?
I believe we were talking about going to jail that day after the interview.
I see. Okay. And in fact, you promised him that you wouldn't seek charges if he had hit an inanimate object. Isn't that right?
I believe I told him that I was not worried about leaving the scene of a property damage.
Okay. You promised him you wouldn't charge him with that, right?
Well, okay. What relevance would it have? The officer doesn't charge.
That's correct. But if the people are intending to use my client's statements as substantive evidence against him, his confession, which I believe they are, as that was the entire direct examination, then anything that has a bearing as to the credibility of his statements, including any promises that were made or implied by this officer in order to obtain those statements,
Would do what?
could impact the credibility of those statements and therefore the evidence.
It's sustained. Yeah, I'm not. That doesn't make any sense.
Did you ever follow up with the witness he told you would verify what he was saying, Adrian Putnam?
No, I did not.
Do you know whose responsibility that would be, which officer?
Normally it would be the officer in charge of the investigation. In this case, one of our detectives was assisting, so maybe him as well.
And do you recall discussing a pizza place or a pizza restaurant in Ann Arbor?
Yes.
Do you recall the name of which pizza restaurant he was allegedly at? Okay. So you didn't follow up on that aspect of the investigation. Is that right?
After the interview, correct.
And you were taking some notes on a notepad during this investigation, right? Did you save those notes?
If it's in my current notebook, it's in my back pocket. It's possible. If it's an old one, I should.
Okay. Is that a part of policy?
Just to relevance again.
I'll overrule it. I'll allow a little leeway. Go ahead.
Is that a part of policy?
I don't know if our policy states or addresses that one way or the other.
You're a sergeant, aren't you? And you were promoted just a couple months after this, right? Did you ever listen to any of the 911 calls on this evening?
No.
Did you ever obtain any police reports relating to this investigation? Were you aware of how many accidents there were on I-94 on this evening?
No.
Okay. Were you aware that there was another accident around the same time frame in that area on this night?
Again, no.
Okay, so you didn't hear those 911 calls?
No, I was not working.
Okay. And you never investigated the scene of this accident, right? You don't have any corroboration about what damage caused Mr. Folks was caused to his vehicle, right?
None other than his statement.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
For point of clarification, the record is clear. There was an initial statement regarding damage to the vehicle that the defendant gave that it occurred in Detroit.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Subsequent to that, after additional questioning, he changed that to the damage having occurred on I-94.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. You may redirect.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
When you interviewed the defendant, I believe you testified on cross-examination that at some point you made a statement that he thought he had to go with you. Do you remember that testimony? After the defendant made that statement, excuse me, what did you tell the defendant as it related to his requirement to being at the station?
I clarified that he was free to leave, that he was not in custody or under arrest. I don't know. That he was free to leave at any time, and he could end the conversation, the interview, and
Did you ever handcuff the defendant? You were also asked whether you had any sort of corroborating evidence that goes to the damage on defendant's vehicle. Do you remember that questioning? Showing defense counsel's marked people's proposed exhibit number 2. I apologize, I'm going a little bit out of order here. May I approach the witness?
Wait. Said exhibit two.
Have you recognized this document?
yes, the state police laboratory report.
Can you take a look at that document for me, please?
Sure.
And specifically, what is that a lab report of?
Appears to be from this case, and it is testing some swabs that were taken from the vehicle. And that as well as
In your review of that report, is that report a fair and accurate representation of a report or the report that was received on this case?
yes.
And people move to admit what's marked as people's proposed exhibit number 2 into evidence.
Any objection or voir dire?
Yes, Your Honor, permission of voir dire.
Go ahead.
So, Sergeant, you have no certification in forensic science, right?
It's broad.
Elaborate, which means
Do you have any certification in forensic science?
Well, that's broad. So you're gonna, yes, it is. So you're gonna have to restructure that question because that is so wide open.
Okay, I was just
Direct question.
sure. Sergeant, you are not a forensic scientist, is that right? And you are not specifically trained in analyzing DNA, right?
in my rules for this department.
And you cannot testify to specifically what these results in this document means, right? Based on scientific knowledge, training.
I can't testify to the testing procedures.
Okay, to be clear, your name is not on this report, right? The person, forensic scientist, is Abby Newman, right?
Correct.
And in fact, this report was issued at the end of March, right? Of this year, March 2026.
The reports of February 11th, 2026.
Oh, do we have a different report? Your Honor, may I approach a witness to see?
You may.
Okay.
Can you look to the bottom of that page you're looking at? It says report issued March 26, 2026. Isn't that right? And I can point if that's easier.
Oh, I see.
Right. You see where I'm looking?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so your role in the investigation had actually concluded by March 26, 2026. Isn't that right?
Correct. My role in the investigation was inspection of the vehicle and interview of Mr. Moore.
Okay. And in fact, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but that was after the initial probable cause conferences in this case. Is that right? Okay. You don't know when the court dates were in this case because it's not your case, right? Okay. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor. I would object as to, on a number of bases. First of all, I don't think this is the appropriate witness from which to seek to admit this report. His role in the investigation had concluded by then. His name is nowhere in here. He didn't testify as to any specific knowledge or experience or involved in this. So I would object on that basis. We didn't receive a specific notice that this would, be sought to use that exam. This is a situation where it was after the initial probable cause conference.
What is the requirement of the notice that it's going to be used? It was supplied to you.
It was supplied to us, Your Honor.
So what requires the prosecutor to give you notice that it may be used when it's supplied to you?
Well, Your Honor, I would argue, given the
Is there a specific statutory or court rule requirement that there would have to be the notice?
not that I'm aware of, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
The people did provide a witness list for the examination today. This is obviously a very, very complicated case and a very specific type of knowledge in order to make the conclusions that are made in this report about DNA analysis. It is possible that we would have sought to have the expert analyze this.
Whoa,
However,
whoa. There has been a PCC in this case. This case has traveled through. This case was set for exam previously. It was adjourned at your request to today's date. And now you're telling me that you haven't done something and may not be ready. Is that what I'm hearing?
well, Your Honor, I would stand by my objection, Your Honor.
You're not going to answer my question.
Sure. So a couple weeks is not enough time to obtain an expert. It's not even enough time and so a couple weeks would not have been enough. This
Didn't just have it for 2 weeks though.
So this report was made March 26, 2026. My notes indicate the probable cause conference in this.
Are you asking them to bring in the author of the report?
Yes,
On what grounds?
to cross-examination in order to ask specifics as to how this was conducted, the testing procedures, the results in terms of 560 septillion times, 8.1 sextillion times, the differences between those two numbers. That would be.
The defense sought to obtain that test or that information from the author of the report.
Sorry, You mean, have I called?
You tried to get to the person that authored the report.
I have not called the author of the report, no.
Mr. Cook.
I don't know if the court needs a response, but I would say I believe this is admissible pursuant to MCL 766.11b, specifically section 1D.
This courtroom case centers on a tragic late-night crash that resulted in the death of a pedestrian on Interstate 94 in Michigan. The prosecution argues that the defendant was driving recklessly, allegedly traveling around 90 miles per hour after consuming alcohol and staying awake for nearly 22 hours. According to investigators, the defendant lost control of his vehicle, struck a man who was walking near the highway, and then left the scene without reporting the crash or providing assistance. A key witness in the case was a senior paramedic who testified that she and her partner spotted the pedestrian shortly before the collision. She described seeing a dark-colored sedan lose control, strike the individual, and then drive away. Emergency responders quickly searched for the victim, but despite life-saving efforts, he was later pronounced dead. The defense, however, challenged the investigation and argued that the victim's own behavior played a significant role in the incident. Testimony revealed that the pedestrian had been acting erratically near the highway, and evidence suggested controlled substances were present in his system. Defense attorneys claimed these factors could have contributed to the tragedy and questioned whether the defendant's actions were the direct legal cause of the death. As the hearing continued, both sides debated issues of reckless driving, causation, witness credibility, and the quality of the police investigation. Ultimately, the court was asked to decide whether there was enough evidence for the case to proceed to trial, where a jury would determine the defendant's guilt or innocence.